Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Tottenham Park Film Club at home. I'm Nigel. This is Wayne.
Yeah.
So last time in the chain, I chose Stanley Kramer's Inherit the Wind, a film about a debate around evolution. So from that film, Wayne, what have you chosen for us?
Okay. Well, this is the first film that popped into my mind within minutes of the Inherit the Wind. I have chosen 2001 Space Odyssey.
Because of the monkeys. You saw the monkeys and you
I
thought,
saw the
I know
monkey.
a monkey film.
I know a film with monkeys in it. Yeah, it's just another. I thought, what's the worst film that these guys would want to watch? These prosecutors.
Sorry, when you're talking about these people, you mean the people in Inherit Wind,
Yeah.
not our film club members.
Oh no. No. The Inherit the Wind crew.
Okay, so come on then, let's go for it.
So,
2001.
2001, Stanley Kubrick, 1968. And it should be. I'm really looking forward to this because I know you don't like this film. So, when was the last time you saw it? I know you watched it recently, but before.
I last saw it 3 or 4 years ago at the NFT 70mm, introduced by John Landis, who's a big fan of the film, and I deliberately went to see it like at the cinema 70mm because I thought I'm gonna give this film another chance. And I thought if I'm gonna see it, that's how I'm gonna see it. So I saw it.
So you deprived some proper fan a ticket.
And
sit there tutting and rolling your
no,
eyes.
there was no tutting. There was no rolling the eyes.
Okay.
Maybe may have been looked at my watch once or twice.
Well, that's fair enough. So I just put it into some context first, then, because I think the context is quite important. The timeline of the film. So it's 1968. It came out, and it was conceived in what have I got here? 1964 was when Stanley Kubrick contacted Arthur C. Clarke, sci-fi writer, to say, I want to make a really good film about a great science fiction film, because up until then I can't think of any science fiction films prior to 2001 which sort of work on a high art level. Maybe Metropolis. But yes, for some reason Stanley Kubrick wanted to do a high art sci-fi film.
Yep.
And it is this 2001 is kind of the blueprint now for high art sci-fi. So he contacted Arthur C. Clarke because he wanted to get. He wasn't really a sci-fi buff, Kubrick, which makes it even weirder. Why would you want to make a great sci-fi film? And Arthur C. Clarke sent him 6 short stories that he had written, and Kubrick chose The Sentinel was the one, which you don't want to talk too much about it because you don't want to spoil 2001.
No.
It's basically about a thing, an object from space, which kind of hurries up evolution. So they set to work on the screenplay. This is where it gets weird. Stanley Kubrick said, I'm going to write the screenplay.
Yep.
What would be great if you wrote the novel
at the same time.
At the same time. So they wrote the screenplay and the novel at the same time. And there's a lot of back and forth between them. So stuff that was going in the screenplay would end up in the novel and vice versa. And what I love about this as well, just as a little aside, the novel was written in the Chelsea Hotel.
Yes.
In New York.
And then came out after the film.
Yeah, well, you're preempting me there, Nigel.
Sorry.
That's the twist towards the end. But yeah, it comes out after. Well, we might as well talk about it now. Arthur C. Clarke had wanted to release the novel before the film because it was ready to go, but Stanley Kubrick wouldn't let him. Said no, the film has to come first. Which I think that's kind of fair enough, since there wouldn't be a novel if there wasn't the film.
Sure.
So while this is all going on, Stanley Kubrick is writing the screenplay and he begins pre-production in 1965. And he interviews. Well, he doesn't interview. He sends one of his guys out to to interview 20 odd leading scientists in the field of space and extraterrestrial intelligence. And the idea is that there'd be like a 10-minute montage at the start of the film with all these talking heads.
Oh yes, right.
Give
it a bit of gravitas, scientific gravitas.
Yeah, I think that was the reason, to say, look, this may look nuts and insane, but actually it's based on fact.
Yeah.
Or
there's some science here.
Yeah. That was ditched, thank God. I don't know.
Replace the scientists with monkeys.
Yeah. I don't know if the footage is available.
No
Do
idea.
you?
No idea. I don't know if they shot it. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was done. It was all set up as a 10-minute thing. So what have I got? 1965, shooting begins in Shepperton. Later moved to Boreham Wood, so it's an English film as well. What else have I got? The novel, we've done that. Most of 1967 is spent on special effects, working out the special effects. And in March 1968, Stanley Kubrick starts to edit the film whilst the special effects are still coming in. Finally, it's ready to go in 3rd of April 1968. It has its premiere in New York City. April 3rd premiere, 241 walkouts. One of whom is Rock Hudson.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't like it. Probably
get his own back for people walking out of seconds.
Who walks out of seconds? No one walks out of seconds. Stanley Kubrick then, immediately cuts 19 minutes off the film. He's also asked by MGM. There was originally a voiceover at the start and at the end, exposition voiceover.
Yeah.
So he was asked to put the voiceover back in to just explain things a bit better. Thank God he says he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Then the 6th of April, so it's only 3 days after the walkouts.
Yeah.
The final cut. So he's worked really quick there, cutting those 19 minutes off. Between the 3rd of April, the walkouts, and then the 6th of April, the final cut. And the final cut is 6th of April 1968, which is also 16 months late,
right,
than when it was meant to be, because of all the whole year was spent on special effects.
Got it. Yeah.
$4.5 million over the original budget, which doesn't seem that much, but when the original budget is $6 million,
yes, big percentage.
1968 money, it's quite a lot. It came out to kind of muted response. A lot of critics didn't really dig it. But who did dig it were the kids.
The hippies.
Yeah. So MGM were going to pull the film out of theatres, but then they got reports, theatre managers were writing, actually, something's happening here, but we don't know what it is. So they're saying there's lots of kids coming in. Kids, teenagers, hippies, smoking, perhaps, taking acid. But really, there'd be a couple of these guys in one day. The next day, this would be doubled, and then so word of mouth amongst a certain group of counterculture, was growing, and it ended up being a hit. July, so that's July 1968, Arthur C. Clarke's novel is released. And this is the most important date. Okay. July 1969, Man Walks on the Moon.
Big marketing boost for the film.
Yeah, I mean, I think they wanted to, I can't remember if they were trying to beat it or they wanted to coincide with it. But I mean, I think that's an important date because it makes you realize we sort of take it for granted it's a sci-fi film, but man hadn't even gone to the moon at this point. So there is a shot of the moon in the film where they discover the second. Well, actually, is it the second? This is one of my interesting points, which I developed after reading the big red book. yeah, so the whole moon landing hoax theory, Stanley Kubrick has kind of been caught up in all of that, because there's a lot of talk that he was
Yeah.
NASA got him to
Yeah,
mock up the moon
of course.
for the moon landings. So that's the basic. That's the
So-
context.
So you know, you're a big fan of
What's your
this.
beef? What's your beef?
Well, the thing that's curious to me is I'm curious about when you first saw this film, because I think my thoughts about the film are very much coloured probably by when I saw it, and what I wanted from a sci-fi film, like as a 12-year-old. And I
I
think,
was old. I was definitely older than 12.
yeah. So I probably watched it for the first time when I was about 12, and I kind of wanted,
Okay.
and I realized I didn't really like sci-fi. I like Star Wars, and I kind of wanted Star
you-
Wars.
You wanted the monkeys to take over.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If it had been Planet of the Apes, I loved, and still love. And so 2001 for me is a film that I can definitely sort of admire, and I completely understand, you know, its importance in the context and its influence, but it's just never a film that I've kind of emotionally ever
Okay.
latched onto. And I think it's also a film that, you know, invites a lot of interpretation.
Well,
So there's a great quote I found, Kubrick
yes.
quote. This is Kubrick so he did a famous interview for Playboy magazine in 1968, and this is him talking about 2001. I tried to create a visual experience, one that bypasses verbalized pigeonholing and directly penetrates the subconscious with an emotional and philosophic content. So that's not what a 12-year-old me wanted at all. I intended the film to be an intensely subjective experience that reaches the viewer an inner level of consciousness. I definitely didn't want that. And then he's like, finishes, you're free to speculate as you wish about the philosophical and allegorical meaning of the film. And such speculation is one indication that it has succeeded in gripping an audience at a deep level. If anyone understands it on the first viewing, we failed in our intention.
Well,
And
thanks for ruining the end of my intro, Nigel.
did you have that quote lined up?
Yes, I did.
This is why, well, it's your fault. You say never chat about the intros before we.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think it's just never like, and I don't care. I kind of fundamentally don't really care what it means. I think.
No, I don't think you're meant to. Well, I think you're meant to care, but you're not meant to know for sure.
No, definitely not.
See, I was a bit older when I saw it. I was probably 15, 16 perhaps, and I'd been put off by the reputation that it's very long and boring. But I watched. I thought it was great. I didn't find it difficult. Not difficult, sort of intellectually difficult, but just as a drag to watch. I thought I'd heard about this. Oh God, there's a sequence where there's a Stargate and it lasts for half an hour.
Yeah.
And it doesn't last half an hour.
About 18 minutes.
Well, no, but the actual traveling.
Yeah.
It's not that long, is it? It's not.
It did make me think. It did make me realize what an influence it has on the. This is what I was interested in as a 12-year-old. When I watched it again the other day, that Stargate very much must have influenced the trip from Krypton to Earth at the beginning of Superman movie.
Also, the thing I noticed the other day, I wrote down George Lucas, because that's the Stargate is basically hyperspace.
Right.
Isn't it? Hyperspace. Hal is C-3PO's one-eyed brother. There's a shot with just the spaceships. You see a lot of the underneath the spaceships going across the screen. Very Star Wars. Yeah. Even the ship they're in at the end has got a big weird bulbous tip. Yeah. And there's a scene where if you took away the end bit and just it's the Death Star.
Yeah. No, and I think definitely the production design. You know, I've heard a lot about the way they did the special effects. They did a lot of like sticking random bits onto the crafts to sort of give them that kind of texture.
Right.
And that's obviously very much the aesthetic from Star Wars. The funniest
and also
story.
The very sorry, go
on. So I listened to.
Are we still on George Lucas though?
We're on effects.
Okay, I'll stay with George Lucas for one more minute. Even the font at the start, the dawn of time, or
Right.
whatever, was it the dawn of time or the dawn of man?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
That could be the start of Raiders of the Lost
Right.
Ark.
Okay.
If you look at it, the font is almost the same. You've got the desert background.
Yeah.
I know it's not a desert in Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yeah.
but it looks really
Yeah, yeah.
Raiders. But yeah,
They're all still photographs, which I didn't realise before.
What are?
The opening, all of those landscapes.
Oh, because I thought they were painted backgrounds. Because I was
No, no.
sure you could see the brushstrokes on.
No, he sent a sort of a crack team of photographers to go and photograph bits and bobs. Now, what I was going to say, I listened to our friend Jane's Radio 4 Archive on 4 documentary about 2001 again, and there's a great anecdote in this. It's typical Kubrick that he tried to poach a load of the animators from Thunderbirds,
Right.
and he sent a telegram or
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
to Sylvie Anderson, and say, "Oh, would you like to meet for lunch?" And she replied, going, "You're just trying to pinch my people who are making Thunderbirds, aren't you?" And he's like, "I suppose we don't have to meet then."
And the other story I like on a similar tip is the guys he got to paint the black backgrounds. They spent a year or so doing this,
Okay.
and they were so fed up afterwards. They all ran off to make Yellow Submarine. They wanted some color. Right, do you want some interesting facts?
Hit me.
Okay. This makes the film sound a lot harder. Again, this is part of the reason why I steered away from it for so long. No dialogue in the first 25 minutes or in the last 23 minutes.
I mean, very little dialogue at all. I mean,
Yeah.
20 minutes, 25 minutes of dialogue total, probably.
It says 88 dialogue, 3 minutes in the movie. One thing I was always a good chance opportunity to read my Stanley Kubrick book. They say in the book, they say the first monolith is found in prehistoric times. The second monolith is found on the moon.
Yeah.
And this is the first time where I thought, hang on, I always thought it was just the one monolith.
Yeah.
Just moving around.
Oh, I see.
And I didn't think there was three. You know, there's a Jupiter one.
Yeah.
What did you think? Any thoughts on
the location of the monolith? I don't know. I mean, that's exactly the sort of thing that I've given very little thought to. But I do understand that the monoliths are sort of extraterrestrial,
yes,
intelligent homing devices or whatever.
It's meant to nudge evolution on.
Yes.
Also, another George Lucas bit.
Oh yes.
When they're on the moon, photographing the monolith.
Right.
And there's the big sort of arc lights and things. That made me think of the opening of the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh. Well, look, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, both massive fans of this film.
Yeah, no, I know they are. Yeah. Well, Steven Spielberg's very closely related
to Kubrick,
isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing, I wasn't, for the first time, I think I was really moved. I won't spoil the scene, but there's a scene between Dave and Hal.
Yes.
Whereas, again, no dialogue pretty much, apart from Hal. What are you doing, Dave? Yeah. And finally, Hal says, "Can I sing? Can I sing my song?" And this is the first thing he says to him. He goes, "Yeah, you can sing. Sure, you can sing." And I just found that, I don't know if I've been locked down for so long.
Maybe I think that could be it.
But I just that he says, "You can, yeah, go on, Hal. You sing your song." I found that really moving this time. Yeah. Let me just see what other interests, if I've got. We're nearly done.
Well, while you're looking, one interesting fact is that what things interesting about the production design and stuff, which is amazing. I mean, it looks amazing. It's an amazing film in many, many respects. It is always interesting when you see the technology, the video consoles, which the little TV screens on the spaceships, they were all 16mm projected. There's projectors projecting on
the wall.
Onto the screens. So they're not they're not TVs. So the special effects and everything are absolutely incredible. And I did enjoy watching it again. And it's one of those films that I kind of almost find, it's a bit like Blade Runner. I kind of find the production history and the making of it more enjoyable than the actual film.
Hmm.
Um, but no, I'm thoroughly enjoyed kind of revisiting it, and I'm sure in a few more years I'll give it another go. Um, yeah, but
But I do. I just love the. Again, we won't talk about the ending, but the ending, I do think it's pretty amazing.
yeah,
And I do think you're not meant to be able to understand it because it's the idea of evolution. I think if you were to show the monkeys at the start of the film
mm,
the spaceship,
mm,
they wouldn't know what the hell that was
no,
going on. You know, they can just about handle a bone.
yes,
Um, so I think the ending, we are on the same level as the astronauts at the end, but then beyond that
yeah,
is the ending of the film, and we're still on the same level as the astronauts. So why should we be able to understand the ending of the film?
yeah.
That's my
Yeah,
mind.
and I don't, and I, and I do not. I've got. There's a lot of films I love that have got very ambiguous meaning or resist interpretation, and it's absolutely fine. It's just something about 2001 that has just never wholly grabbed me. But
You got
if,
Leonard Rossiter as well. Good cameo from
yeah,
Leonard Rossiter.
but if
One of Stanley Kubrick's favorite actors.
quite right too. But if people haven't seen it, they should definitely see it. And if people haven't seen it for a
Mm,
long time, they should definitely revisit it.
yeah, I
Um,
agree. Well,
and
obviously,
there's lots and lots of interesting. We'll put a bunch of links to. There's loads of interesting extra stuff you can read. Um, Pauline Kael's absolute takedown of the film is very entertaining. There's lots of good making of documentaries, and
and the other thing worth mentioning is the music as well, because I think we take it for granted. I think we take the whole film for granted, really. The whole look of it
mm,
and just the sound of it, the music,
mm,
the Strauss.
yeah,
It's just amazing. And it's almost become a cliche now because I guess it's been parodied so many times.
yeah.
Um, but when you see it and you think, imagine if you were one of them kids in
Mm.
1968.
Well,
Uh,
that was what was great when I saw John Landis introduce it. Like the
was
impact
he
it
was he
had.
one of them kids?
He was not only one of those kids, but he was friends with the son of Kubrick's lawyer. So he got to see it kind of like
Right.
very early on,
Okay.
and yeah, got to sort of hear about it all, and yeah, it's very very interesting.
Did he see the uncut version?
I can't remember.
Okay.
Um, okay, are we done?
I think so. Oh, just last point. Did you realize? I didn't realize this. There was a sequel.
Yeah, 2010 with Roy Scheider.
Yeah, yeah. Roy Scheider,
Yeah, yeah,
Helen Mirren,
yes. In fact, I
John
nearly, I,
John Lithgow, and
yes,
Bob Balaban.
I know, no, I if I'd have had time, I was almost tempted to watch it
Uh,
before our chat.
I don't think I want to watch it.
Um,
I didn't. I knew there was a book, but I didn't realize there was
yeah, yeah,
an
yeah,
actual. They'd
yeah,
made a
yeah.
film.
No, there definitely is.
Do
Okay,
you know
well, which one?
anything about it?
No, I think it's supposed to be not. It's not bad,
Okay.
but obviously it's not going to compare. So which one of us is going to be Hal and end this conversation in the most appropriate way?
Uh, I can be. No, you be Hal.
Okay, this conversation can serve. Oh, I've messed it up. Oh well, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
Oh, I do. I've just noticed on
Not
my
goodbye.
not yet. Q in the pit on my note.
Is that your? Is that your? That's a good sci-fi.
Well, it's a good sci-fi film, Quatermass and the Pit.
Yep.
Quatermass and the Pit. But that came out in 1967. And I assumed it would be after 2001 because the themes in it are very similar.
Yes.
An alien life form, evolution.
Yep.
There's actually a year before, and I'm guessing Stanley Kubrick.
Although they could have read the
Well,
Sentinel by then. I mean, there's a lot of.
Stanley Kubrick must have been aware of it, but you would have thought it was the sort of thing he would have gone nuts about.
Who stole my idea?
Yeah.
Yeah. No idea.
But,
No idea.
who knows?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I'm
All
done.
right.
I'm done.
Thank you. So we'll see everybody. Hope you enjoyed the film. 2001, Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick, 1968. Enjoy.
Really well.